Good afternoon, everyone. It's great to be back at APEC and to be back here in Bangkok. Distinguished heads of state, leaders of governments, excellencies, fellow CEOs, ladies and gentlemen. It's my great honor and a real personal pleasure to introduce His Excellency Gabriel Boric, who became president of Chile earlier this year. And it's been an exciting time for him. Chile, over the years, has distinguished itself as an important example of success in political participation while maintaining a strong market-oriented economy. Our company, Freeport, is a global leader in the mining industry, and I often use Chile as an example in talking with other governments about how it is a global leader in the copper industry. And it has taken advantage of its large copper resources over the years to build a very strong economy. It has an impressive historical record. It is one of the most attractive nations in the world for direct foreign investment. With its resilient and strong democratic institutions, including a steadfast adherence to the rule of law. But like many countries around the world, if not all countries around the world, Chile is striving to balance social needs with the aspirations of important business issues. My own company, Freeport-McMoRan, is a long-term investor in Chile's copper industry. We strongly support, as a company, sustainability as we pursue business success for all stakeholders. Mr. President, we're committing to support you in your efforts to achieve social progress while retaining Chile's position as an attractive company for our investments. We also support President Boric's initiatives and leadership in the important area of climate change. We were inspired by your speech, Mr. President, at this year's UN General Assembly, where you said no country, large or small, can save itself on its own. This important call for multilateralism is particularly well placed for the 21 APEC economies gathered here together today in Bangkok. We look forward to Mr. President's remarks and those of the other panelists in this discussion of building sustainable economies, businesses, and societies. Thank you.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's APEC CEO Summit. I'm Hu Li, the founder and publisher of Caixin Media from China. This is a session focused on sustainability. How can we build sustainable communities in our own countries and together in APEC? What are the biggest challenges as well as practical steps governments and businesses can take? With all these questions, we are happy to have 4 distinguished panelists with me on stage. I will first invite each panelist to deliver their own opening remark, and then we'll have a discussion. Each will have 3 minutes. First, leaders from Chile and Peru. I've been to many amazing places in both countries, ranging from Machu Picchu to Easter Island. Always impressed, not only by the beauty of the places, but also the energy of people and the richness in history and land. I will give the floor first to His Excellency Gabriel Boric, President of Chile. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I prepared a few words for this start, and afterwards I'll go right into the conversation. As you all know, all around the world, all of our countries are facing significant economic and social difficulties, and Chile it's not exempted from that. In this context, protecting and improving democracy is, in my opinion, the key to providing stability, to assuring people well-being. And this is important because democracy, it's not only voting. Democracy, it's involving people in the way that we are developing our countries. Government of emerging economies like ours in Chile are facing challenges of having to balance our immediate needs with a long-term vision that allow us to develop. As you might know, we had a social unrest a few years ago, 2019, and we decided at that harsh moment that we were going to solve our problems with more democracy, not less. And that, I think, it's really important for Chile. And as you might know also, Chilean people rejected the draft of the new constitution that a convention proposed. And so we are discussing again how to do it. But we totally respect the willing of our people. So we're taking on this challenge by focusing on the immediate needs of people, which are economic, social, and public safety, and some important reforms to our tax system, retirement and pensions, and our health system. When the legitimacy in the public eye builds a stable climate for growth and investment. For Chile, I believe this is the key element that allows us to confidently stride forwards to the economy that we want to have. And Chile is a country that is inserted in the world. We have a lot of free trade agreements with most of the APEC economies and with a lot of other countries, with the European Union, also with the United States, Mexico, etc. And we are really looking forward to go deep on those relationships, but not only in commerce, not only in business. We want to have exchange on cultural issues also, in historical issues. We want to learn from other countries how to strengthen democracy. Because democracy, as you all know, it cannot be taken for granted nowadays. So we have a lot of work to do. I have a lot of other things to say, but as you said, just 3 minutes, I'm gonna stay here, and afterwards we can keep on talking.
Thank you very much. And then Her Excellency Dina Boluarte, First Vice President of Peru.
Muchas gracias. Quiero hacerles llegar el saludo del presidente Pedro Castillo y del pueblo peruano en general. Desde Machu Picchu, o Cuela, o nuestra querida Lima, o nuestro querido Arequipa, o nuestro querido Cusco. Ciudades tan importantes como las demás regiones que tiene el Perú, 24 en total, todas ellas importantes para que los inversionistas nacionales y extranjeros puedan tener una mirada hacia esa región tan rica y milenaria, heredera de la raza inca que somos los peruanos. Excelentísimos líderes económicos de APEC y distinguidas señoras y señores empresarios. Me es especialmente grato estar aquí con ustedes en este APEC del 2022 para poder intercambiar ideas sobre cómo hacer más sostenible a nuestras economías, negocios, sociedades en el Asia-Pacífico. La Agenda 2030 de las Naciones Unidas es clara al señalar que sus objetivos y retos son de carácter integrado e indivisible y conjugan las 3 dimensiones de desarrollo sostenible, vale decir, la económica, la social y la ambiental. Esta temática es de especial interés en el mundo emergente porque supone que para buscar ese equilibrio, las estrategias para avanzar el desarrollo deben considerar la creciente amenaza del cambio climático para no impactar negativamente a las generaciones futuras. En esa línea, la visión de APEC Putrajaya al 2040 apunta a construir un Asia-Pacífico sostenible, fuerte, balanceado e inclusivo, buscando asegurar las necesidades del presente sin comprometer el futuro de nuestras ciudadanas y de nuestros ciudadanos, cautelando la protección del medio ambiente, el crecimiento económico y el desarrollo social. Esta es una tarea compartida que requiere replantear los patrones de consumo y producción, contar con empresas más conscientes en esa mirada de su entorno, con una institucionalidad pública que promueva cambios hacia estructuras económicas y sociales más sostenibles e inclusivas. En el eje medioambiental, el camino hacia la neutralidad de carbono es inminente. Dentro de la región de la APEC, con anuncios oficiales hechos por las economías más grandes de la región, como Estados Unidos y China, de ser carbono neutrales para el 2050 y 2060, respectivamente, hay un gran momento para avanzar en esa agenda. Un factor primordial para lograr la neutralidad de carbono será modernizar y cambiar nuestras matrices energéticas hacia fuentes renovables y menos contaminantes, ya que alrededor de 2/3 de las emisiones de carbono están relacionadas con el uso de energía y de estas aproximadamente el 60% proviene de economías pertenecientes a la APEC. En ese sentido, la actividad minera también jugará un rol fundamental para la sostenibilidad medioambiental, siendo que la transición global hacia nuevas fuentes de energía y movilidad será intensiva en minerales estratégicos como el cobre y el litio. Así, el Perú, cuya producción minera representó un 12% de su PBI en el 2021 y es uno de los principales exportadores mineros del mundo, tendrá un rol clave en esta transformación. Otro factor fundamental para la sostenibilidad social y económica es la educación. Un correcto aprendizaje por parte de nuestros niños y jóvenes se traduce en el largo plazo en un mejor y mayor capital humano. Esto permite ampliar las fronteras productivas y de conocimiento en un país a la vez que brinda a nuestras ciudadanas y a nuestros ciudadanos mejores oportunidades de desarrollo, mejores oportunidades para ser profesionales y en esa movilidad social. Las economías de la APEC debemos contrarrestar diligentemente la crisis del aprendizaje ocasionada por la pandemia de la COVID-19. APEC es un espacio importante para compartir mejores prácticas en esta tarea. El Perú es consciente de que el único vehículo para generar riqueza de manera sostenible es la inversión privada. Por ello, que promover un adecuado flujo de capitales y atraer grandes inversiones es otro eje importante para la sostenibilidad de una economía social de mercado. Por ello, el crecimiento económico sostenido de Perú desde hace ya varios años es producto de la adopción de medidas que han propiciado un ecosistema de estímulo económico integral a través de sucesivos gobiernos. En ese sentido, el Perú sigue comprometido con garantizar un ambiente predecible para las inversiones de todo el mundo, con especial énfasis en el APEC, ya que 7 de las 20 economías con mayor saldo de inversión extranjera en nuestro país son parte de este foro. La movilidad de flujos de inversión será clave para la sostenibilidad de nuestra región. Finalmente, considero que una de las tareas más grandes del mundo emergente para lograr la sostenibilidad económica, social y medioambiental será el reducir la informalidad. En promedio, el 76.8% de los empleos en Perú son parte de la economía informal. La informalidad pone en posición de vulnerabilidad a los trabajadores que no cuentan con un esquema de pensiones, amenazan nuestros ecosistemas a través de actividades no formales e incluso ilegales que no respetan ningún estándar medioambiental y limitan la competitividad y productividad de nuestras economías. En tal sentido, la transición de los agentes económicos hacia la economía formal es un tema que el Perú, con el apoyo de todas las economías miembros, ha incorporado a la agenda de desarrollo de APEC y debería ser un eje central en los próximos años, por lo que será una de las prioridades temáticas que el Perú promoverá durante su presidencia de APEC en el 2024. Mi país es un país de grandes inversiones, desde donde podemos garantizar que tenemos seguridad económica, seguridad jurídica, para que los inversionistas del mundo puedan llegar y apostar, porque sabemos que los negocios que van a promover desde nuestras tierras van a ser bien aceptadas, van a ser bastante bien movilizadas y van a poder apoyar en el desarrollo y en esa inclusión social que tanto anhelamos desde mi Perú. Desde ya,
Thank you very
son
much.
bienvenidos cada uno de ustedes en el 2024, cuando nos toque a Perú presidir el APEC. Bienvenidos, muchas gracias y buenas tardes.
Yeah, thank you so much. And
Thank you very much, Your Excellencies, distinguished panelists, distinguished guests. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I'm very honored and very pleased to be here to have this opportunity to speak with you. So, as is mentioned, Suzanne Gaboury, I'm the Director General of Private Sector Operations for ADB. ADB has had a long history in the region, in Asia and Pacific. We have been here for more than 55 years. And so for us, this is very, very important. With that, you know, I hear some of the comments already made about inclusion, about sustainability, I think, which are very much at the heart and soul of what ADB does with an impact point of view, but financial sustainability. So ADB offers a unique proposition, I believe, in the fact that it combines both public and private operations and sectors under one roof. We have strong relationships with the governments in our developing member countries across Asia and the Pacific, and this enables us to engage in policy dialogue as well as with greater private sector investments. And with that, ADB, I just come from COP27, so again, the whole discussion has been about climate and making the promises from COP26, put them into action. So as part of this, as announced last year, you know, ADB has made various commitments to, with regards to climate. It is the climate bank of Asia. So at COP26, we also emphasized our investment in the proposals with regards to providing $100 billion of our own money within the current decade for climate finance, and at least a minimum of 12 billion of this is to come from the private sector, from the private sector operations. Then with that, part of our objective is to mobilize private capital. One of the other major points at COP27 was about the mobilization of private capital with the innovation and ideas that come with that. So one of our objectives is to mobilize up to another $30 billion in private sector capital through partnerships and co-financing. And so this is where we see ourselves as a partner to emerging Asia, as a lender, as a facilitator, not only because we invest our own capital, but because we aim to crowd in at least $2.50 per $1 of our own capital. And so through this, what we want to do is provide innovation platforms for trailblazing private sector projects on climate change across a broad range of areas. For example, we recently invested $30 million in a specialty fertilizer producer. And so again, looking at different aspects of climate where you can actually aid and help the food production, increase farmer income, food security, and improve resilience to climate-induced water stress. One of the things that, once again, that was coming out of COP within the whole area is the how interlinked the issues of climate, water stress, and food security are incredibly impacted by climate change. And through that, we need the private sector to come in for ideas, for innovation. So some of the things that we're also trying to do is support innovative early stage companies with technologies that can have transformational impacts through our venture capital arm, ADB Ventures, where we invest in clean tech, climate tech, ag tech, across startups that provide innovative and technology solutions. The key is to invest in technology that is disruptive, as well as replicable across multiple geographies and scalable over time. So for example, we're looking at things from eGreen Global. It's a company that's using technology with potato microtubers. And we know that potatoes originate from Peru with more than 5,000 varieties that they have there. Again, this is about cutting down time for production from 6 years to 1 to 2 years. So it has all kinds of impacts, from water to climate to the actual incomes of the farmers. And part of the idea is also to support adaptation, climate adaptation. We know that mitigation is through renewable energy is the primary area where many private sector finance has gone. Adaptation is an aspect of that we need to look at, but it's challenging. So how are we going to do that? It's probably primarily private sector, but we know that many fiscal balance sheets on the public side are stretched, and so as a consequence, we would like to provide help for that. The private sector has to mobilize finance for climate adaptation. I think that we need to look at opportunities for that, for delivering transformational adaptation, to act and to work not just through stopgap measures or full-time short-term, fulfill short-term goals, but to provide for lasting change and long-term solutions. So with that, I'll turn it over, and I look forward to the discussion here on more sustainability. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to discuss what you have talked further. Last panelist for the opening remark, which I hope we can limit it into 3 minutes anyway, and not last but not least, and Mr. Hironori Kamezawa, President and CEO, Mitsubishi UFG Financial Group. MUFG, as we know it, one of the largest financial groups in Japan.
Can you hear? Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. But I can't see your face because of the strong light. But good afternoon, and I will make a briefly. So, my name is Hironori Kamezawa, the CEO, Group CEO of the MUFG. As she explained, MUFG is the largest financial institution in Japan, and I'm very honored to be invited as a business leader to discuss these important topics with the great country's leaders and the sustainability expert. And for those who do not know the MUFG, let me briefly explain about MUFG. MUFG has the broad global network in more than 50 countries, and we have the asset over the $3 trillion, and we are very global network. Among such global network, the Asian market is our second mother market for us, and we have been committed to this region especially Thailand and ASEAN. We have 27,000 people here, which is about 15% of MUFG 180,000 people, the employees. This is huge commitment to Thailand. And also we have the partner banks in Indonesia, Bank Danamon, and the Philippine Securities Bank, and the Vietnam Bank in Vietnam. So in total, we have over 3,000 branches in ASEAN. So this is a great, important market for us. And about sustainability, we discuss always with the CEO of the US and the Europeans and the Asian banks. We always talk with the three big topics. The one is digital, and the second is sustainability, and third is culture. These three are the big topics for the CEOs in this changing era. So especially the sustainability is very important. And so that's why we, MUFG, also declared carbon neutrality declaration last year. And also we need to focus our energy to this, the carbon neutrality, but not only for that, but to the financial inclusion and other sustainability initiatives. These are the big topics for us. I'm very excited to speak. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I want to start our discussion now with economic issues. We all know that the world is now facing recession pressures, and at the same time, challenges like COVID-19 and the war in Ukraine have brought inflation to a new height. So, President Boric, to what extent will Chile's economic growth be affected by global challenges and uncertainties? We know that you've planned to introduce a set of progressive reform agendas. What are the implications of the reform for Chile's economic recovery?
Well, I think that, well, inflation, it's actually a problem in all of the world. Nowadays, in Chile, we're having that problem, but I'm glad to say that in the last few months, we succeeded in lowering inflation in a couple of points. And I think that for that, it's really important not to lose our way into populism. We have to be really strong in maintaining fiscal, how you can say this, discipline. And nowadays, I think that we politicians, because I'm a politician, we have a big problem that long-term solutions does not talk good enough with short-term elections. So we really need that we politicians think in long-term and not only about the next election. And for that, for example, the problems that we are facing with inflation, it's really important to have a really fiscal discipline. But I would like to say that also, if a country is really unequal, as Chile has a lot of vibrant and good things to say about Chile, and we are a stable economy. We have a lot of technology. We have a lot of raw resources. We are working hard on renewable energies. But if we are not able to build a more equal society, none of that thing will matter, because as we learned from the past few years, we will have problems, social problems. So we need social reforms. We need social reforms. Social reforms are not just a thing that people from the left side government want to do. It's necessary. We are, I believe, we are a rich country, but we need to distribute in a better way the wealthiness that our country has, and that we have to do it with certainty, with respecting rules, respecting foreign investment. But we have to make changes. The worst thing that could happen to foreign investment is that we don't change. If we keep the status quo just on how it is now, I think that would be the most riskful thing to do nowadays. And let me say just one more thing. Today, as with all the problems that the economy is facing, investing in foreign markets, it's more expensive than it was 3 years ago. And that's why our government has launched a program called Let's Invest in Chile, and which is a package of measures that aims to increase investment by 5 percentage points next year. We are having taxing incentives for private investments, improvement in access to financing, improvements in public investment, promotion of foreign investments, improvements in the effectiveness of regulation and permitting procedures, and public-private partnerships for investment. We know we have to work with the private sector. We are really working hard on that. We have had good news in foreign investment in the last few months, and we are really looking forward to work with you in order to build a more sustainable economy and facing the challenges that we are facing in the world as climate change.
As we learned that the Peru's GDP growth last year was high, 13.3%, very impressive. But it seems to slow down a little bit to around 3.5 in the first half year. So what would be your key challenges? How does the government plan to boost the economy?
Efectivamente, el Perú en el 2021 ha tenido un crecimiento económico del 13.3%. Ha sido el país que mejor ha crecido en la región. En este año 2022 también es el país que menos inflación tenemos en la región. Sabemos que luego de la pandemia los países del mundo y las inversiones económicas no son las mismas. Estamos saliendo de la pandemia y por eso Perú ha garantizado la vacunación de su población. Solo con la vacunación podemos decir que nos podemos movilizar las personas y podemos reactivarnos económicamente. Por ello que la población peruana, con las 3 dosis de vacunación, estamos casi al 70% y con la 4ª vacunación estamos llegando casi al 40%. Ya en el Perú no estamos usando mascarillas, esta ya no es obligatoria, y estamos garantizando de esa manera que los inversionistas extranjeros puedan venir de manera segura al país porque la salud está garantizada. Pero también nosotros desde el Perú somos un país minero, somos un país agrícola, ganadero y tenemos un mar muy diverso y muy rico. Hay inversionistas que están trabajando allí y están apostando por querer generar desde el Perú ese movimiento económico. Sin embargo, esa riqueza que los empresarios internacionales o nacionales generen en el Perú tiene que ser con esa mirada humana, inclusiva, de desarrollo social. La brecha de la pobreza y el hambre en el Perú, y seguramente como en todos los otros países, han crecido, y en el Perú aún más. Desde el gobierno estamos apostando por querer acortar esa brecha de hambre. Sin embargo, invitamos a los inversionistas extranjeros, mineros, ganaderos, agrícolas. El Perú es diverso y tiene los 7 pisos que otros países no los tienen. Ahí podemos cultivar aquellos productos que ya están en la mesa de todo el mundo. Hay productos como por ejemplo el aguaimanto que está saliendo o el maíz morado, que es el único país que tiene ese grano milenario. Tenemos variedad de papa como la papa nativa, que son muy queridas para hacer esas papas que las venden en sobrecito. Hay mucho por invertir en el país y desde el Perú les damos las garantías jurídicas y económicas donde sus inversiones serán respetadas, y estoy segura de que en esa mirada de desarrollo humano los inversionistas trabajarán junto con el Estado para poder acortar la brecha de la pobreza, la brecha del hambre. Gracias.
Thank you. Maybe I'll say it's two things. I think it's engagement and partnerships. I think you need to remain engaged, and obviously I believe in multilateralism, and I do believe that that's an important part. And I think now more than ever, when economies need recovery post, all the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic, inflation, and all the other macroeconomic situations that are going on now. And I think that, one of the things that we have been doing is within the ADB is that we've taken a multi-pronged approach to support, to provide the support that's needed, starting from policy dialogue to counter-cyclical measures, innovation through startups, investments through banks and financial institutions, energy transition, trade and supply chain finance, agribusiness loans, smallholder farmers. So, again, all the way across the value chain, what I would call from a financial perspective. And I think that, one of the things that we've tried to remain engaged, including when things have been very, very stressed, is to provide supply chain finance. We have an $8 billion a year supply chain finance program. And again, when companies and countries are stressed, you need to keep the economic wheels going. You need to provide that support. And so we very much have remained to keep the doors open. And I think that, one of the keys for recovery is mobilizing support, maintaining strong financial policy frameworks and economic fundamentals. So, there's a number of areas that need to take place, and also to not shy away. I mean, yes, investing on a counter-cyclical basis requires, a bit of strong-willed and a risk appetite, but I think that's what some of the keys to recovery are.
Yes. I want to focus a bit more on private sector. Meanwhile, shift the focus today's theme, sustainability. Mr. Kamezawa, from your global banking perspectives, how have the past 3 years changed the global financial landscape, especially when it comes to sustainable finance and other necessary support of your banking business?
Change of the past 3 years. But before the COVID-19, I think we had already had some big mega trends like digitization and the sustainability, and also the stakeholder, multi-stakeholder capitalism. So these were the trends. And I think the pandemic has accelerated these trends, especially digitization and sustainability. Before going to the sustainability, I want to touch on about the digitization. We can work from home, and the customers' behavior has been changed, and we need to adapt to these changes, including our customers and including ourselves. So we invested to the Grab, the super app company in the ASEAN countries. We are now providing the small loans to the Grab drivers and the merchant people, and also we started our services to the Grab users. So this is kind of financial inclusion through the digitization. So this is very important to us. And regarding the sustainability, of course, the private bank has a huge responsibility to support to this the economic. The sustainable finance market continued to increase and tripled with significant growth in sustainable loan. And we need to make some innovation as well in this sustainability loan area. So, for example, the sustainability linked finance. This is the finance which motivate the customers to reach some goal. So we set the customer set some ambitious goal of the sustainable initiative. If they reach that goal, we can make our interest rate lower than original. So that is a good incentive for customer to keep their initiative to the sustainability. So these innovation is also important for the sustainable finance. So our private bank, our private sector need to focus our effort to these the innovation in sustainable finance as well. These are the change in the past 3 years.
And has a relatively high ranking for sustainable development. Number 1 in Latin America and the number 28th of the 193 countries, according to Professor Jeffrey Sachs. So what are some of your key priorities and challenges for the next 5-10 years regarding sustainability? How does the country plan to navigate through this fast-changing world?
Well, I think that the main challenge that we have is to build confidence. Because Chile nowadays, not only Chile, it would be, I don't want to present you like here like a perfect country, like some kind of paradise on earth, because we are not. We are facing problems. We have social inequality. We are struggling with the effects of COVID-19. We also are in a discussion about the constitutional process, but I can assure you that one of the main things that we're working on is in building confidence. If we are not able to build confidence in between private sector and public sector, I think nothing's going to work. So I invite you not only to invest in Chile, but to invest and build confidence and to learn from our culture. As Richard said to me before we were having a small talk, he told me that it's impossible for a serious company to come into a country and try to impose their own rules. They have to adapt. So adaptation, it's not only economic adaptation, it's also cultural adaptation. And I think one of the main challenges that we have is, as I said before, build confidence. But what can we do now, or what can Chile help the world? I think Chile, it's really inserted into the world, into the economic world. So Chile needs APEC, Chile needs the European Union, Chile needs the free trade commitments, but also the world needs Chile, because we have copper, we have lithium, we have renewable energies, but not only that, we don't only have raw materials. We are working hard on technology, and we want to learn from the technology that you guys have here in Asia, in Japan, in Thailand, of course China, and we want to engage with your economies. And if we can provide, and I'm sure we can, I'm sure we can provide stability democracy and long-term relationships with foreign investments, and your companies also engage with our community, our local communities, not only the government, but the local communities, I think we can do great business. And business is not only money. As you know, we have to assure that that money or the profit is guaranteed, but also the well-being of our people. And as we were talking before, I think if we change that switch, we can make a lot. We are in Chile working hard on protecting environment. We have like 50% of our sea protected nowadays, and we are working hard with Canada and Mexico and also Peru in protecting the Pacific area. And I know that companies that have a social responsibility and a social awareness of what's going on, we are going to be able to work really straightened on that.
Thank you very much. You mentioned the sea protected 50%. What about the other 50%?
Sorry?
You just mentioned the ocean protected 50%, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What about the other 50%?
Well, we're working on it. Actually, your question is, it's not unfair, it's not the word, but Chile is actually one of the first countries that started to protect marine areas with Ecuador and some other countries.
Yeah.
So we, in order to protect all the sea, we need all the coast. We need more investment.
Yep.
And we're working on that, and we are working on, I don't know how to say this in English, but planes de manejo, is it called, in order to not make it just wishful thinking or a declaration of good intentions, but in order to make it real. And we are working hard on that.
Yeah, thank you very much. One of the most important measures of Peru's progress in sustainability and humanitarian development is the reduction of inequality. Peru still has a Gini coefficient as high as 43.8 between 2020 and 2021. Well, on the other hand, the pro-equality policies you proposed also met some pressure from the right side. So what's the government's plan to further promoting equality without getting its hands tied up?
Las desigualdades sociales en el mundo y en el Perú no son de ahora, son históricas. Y los gobiernos han ido pasando y muy poco han ido mirando a esas desigualdades humanas. Desde el gobierno que está en gestión, estamos trabajando continuamente en ese diálogo para poder llegar a acuerdos donde tanto el sector privado, pero también desde el lado del gobierno y las organizaciones sociales podamos hacer frente a las desigualdades que tenemos. Sin embargo, sabemos que desde el trabajo con el sector privado, que es muy importante esa mirada, y poder trabajar en esas alianzas estratégicas y desde esas inversiones económicas, desde esas inclusiones, podamos mirar a ese lado de la población, a esa población vulnerable que siempre ha estado ahí históricamente detenida en el tiempo. Efectivamente, tenemos un alto porcentaje de pobreza. Pero en este gobierno, el haber atendido de manera oportuna y eficiente a los programas sociales a través del Ministerio de Desarrollo e Inclusión Social, estas brechas se han acortado. A pesar de la pandemia, a pesar de la guerra entre Rusia y Ucrania, a pesar de la situación, el Perú ha podido responder de mejor manera a acortar esa brecha de las desigualdades. Sin embargo, seguimos apostando porque estas brechas disminuyan y ahí es importante el trabajo, esa alianza estratégica con las empresas privadas. Porque sabemos que desde la mirada como gobierno sin ustedes, los inversionistas, no vamos a poder conseguir sociedades en desarrollo, inclusivas y con el rostro humano. Por eso es que desde la APEC hacemos, a nombre de Perú, la invitación a cada uno de ustedes que puedan venir a invertir a Perú. Sabemos que tenemos esa seguridad jurídica, económica, que garantiza no solo en el presente, sino al mediano y largo plazo, las inversiones de ustedes. Allá están y estarán garantizadas. Es un gobierno respetuoso de las inversiones privadas, nacionales y extranjeras. Y en ese trabajo de alianzas estratégicas podemos asegurar que la presidencia que va a asumir el 2024 Perú de la APEC, estaremos ingresando allí con una historia diferente, la de ahora al 2024 que contar. Habremos crecido ustedes y nosotros, ustedes como inversionistas y nosotros como Perú. Habremos crecido y habremos dado una mirada diferente a ese sector que está esperando también de ustedes una mirada con inclusión social. Gracias.
Okay. Thank you. And Ms. Gaboury, can you share with us your experience in making infrastructure construction more sustainable, since you have driven a lot of money, up to billions US dollars on this kind of thing?
Thanks very much. You know, some of the numbers we've heard for infrastructure and the investment needs in the region of about, we're 1.7 trillion per year. The latest that I'm hearing is that because we've not been able to keep up with that as a whole, the number is up to 2.2 trillion per year. So I think that, pardon me, innovation and support is needed in this. When it comes to infrastructure support, ADB has known to be a reliable partner in the region, and pardon me, the private sector, you know, we've been able to provide catalytic support and capital mobilization in particular, and we have a number of recent examples of innovative type infrastructure transactions that are, you know, I think used to mitigate climate change. So recently we just signed a $135 million deal for VinFast. It's an electric mobility green loan project in Vietnam. We provided loans for fully electric buses for public transport, an EV charging network, other electric mobility expansion, CAPEX in Vietnam. Performance incentive grants were a part of this. So basically bringing in all different kinds of capital in order to actually provide climate solutions. We are expanding across the region in quite a number of electric vehicle, electric bus type projects. And I think that, you know, part of that is also being innovative. We've pioneered green bonds, climate bonds in Southeast Asia, supporting the first certified green bonds in the Philippines, Thailand, Vietnam, as well as providing technical assistance, support for the ASEAN bond standards and institutional strengthening in Thailand. And I think, you know, we have tied these obviously to green assets and green finance, green infrastructure, and over the years we've acted as anchor investors. So we're trying to look at a number of ways of doing this, both upstream and downstream, with regards to looking at new innovative ideas. We've created new platforms to mobilize and to catalyze finance. We've partnered with Bloomberg, Bloomberg Philanthropies, Goldman Sachs, Temasek, HSBC, Clifford Capital, and others to help develop new and supporting facilities for climate innovation and sustainable infrastructure. And the whole aspect here is about innovation and sustainability. We've also been involving and bringing on board our insurance partners, putting together recently a $1 billion master insurance agreement to actually help mobilize insurance and financial partners into the region. So, it's about working between the upstream, making sure the policy changes are there, the midstream, working with public sector entities, PPP structures, developing that, and then, of course, downstream with private sector clients, finance to mobilize bankable transaction. So, it requires a number of approaches, a number of areas, because the issue at large is very, very significant.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Kamezawa, building on remarks from Ms. Gaboury, please tell us the role of private sector, especially commercial banking, in promoting sustainability in this region.
Of the huge responsibility and the key roles from the private sectors. I think the two big roles. One is financing, and the other one is rule making or the framework making. Regarding the financing, we can allocate the capital to the target sectors to transit from brown to green. So as I said, we, as one of the G6 company, we declared our carbon neutrality. The declaration is zero emission in our operation by 2030, and zero emission from our portfolio by 2050. To achieve this, our portfolio zero emission, the engagement is very important. Engagement with the customer is a key factor for us. That we need to understand their roadmap and their challenges and plans. So, and finally, we will provide the sustainability finance to the customers. These are the key for us. And as some of you know, aware, this week the JETP Indonesia was announced in Bali in G20. JETP means Just Energy Transition Program. This is a kind of the blended the funding. Blend means blend of the private and the public sector, which can the larger funding to the emerging the developing countries to accelerate their the initiative to green. So these are the great important step for the financing. And regarding the rule making, of course this is very important. The other important point is the transition. How to transit this world to the carbon neutrality. So from that point, the definition of the transition or what is a guideline for transition finance is very important for all the participants to the carbon neutrality declaration. So we are now leading the meeting in the global. So that is another big role for the private sector.
Okay, thank you. And President Boric, as you just said, it's already on your agenda to increase taxes and the entrance fees for big mining corporations. Now, also we heard some experts and the business groups are expressing concerns that the taxation and partial nationalization agenda you are promoting for the mining industry may affect foreign investment and trade, China included. How would you address that concern? And if I can ask, how do you plan to deepen the trade relationship with China, which is your biggest trading partner?
Can you repeat the last part of the question, please?
Yeah. How do you plan to deepen the trade relationship with China?
The tax that we have on mining industry was established like 20 years ago. And as you all know, the world has evolved a lot. And we have a lot of challenges that we have to face. And Chile, it's a mining country. Chile is a mining country, and we have a lot of experience on mining, and we are hiring our standards or our environmental standards. But we also know that we have to, or we are facing social demands that requires better distribution of wealth. So we are not going to impose or change rules from one day to another. We are talking to the mining sector, with mining companies, in order to come to an agreement. And as you might know, our Congress is actually nowadays is tied. So if we want to pass our reforms, we have to talk to all the political sectors, and we have to come to big agreements. There's no way that in Chile one party or other can impose its point of view. And we are really respectful of democracy. So I know the private sector might be concerned about some of our reforms, but I want to address what I said in my first intervention. The worst thing that we could do in Chile is not to change. If we do not address changes and we do not fight for more social equality, no business, no company, it's going to be possible in long term. So as mining, especially mining investments are long-term investments, we need a more stable country. And as the social unrest in 2019 proved, we have to face those problems before they explode. So when we're talking about changing or discussing our tax reform, it's not just increasing tax. And I would like to say something about that. For example, the plan that we are imposing nowadays includes tax benefits such as, for example, a tax credit fund for green business that have a high multiplier effect, an extension of the reduced tax rate for small business, and instant depreciation mechanisms for the whole 2023. So I know some investors might be concerned, but I can assure you that the changes we are proposing we are really aware that we have to come to a big agreement, and also that we need to face social challenges and also build confidence. Confidence in the world is broken if we do not work hard on that, and that's not. And we cannot work on that just looking into the next election. We're going to fail. And as I said in the UN, nowadays public and private sector have to work together in order to build this confidence, and we are really compromised on that in Chile, and our reforms, our tax reform and our pension reform are working on that direction.
Thank you very much. I think confidence is so important for our today's discussion is sustainability. So before I wrap up, I will give the last question to Vice President Boric. As a strategic competition between U.S. and China is becoming more and more intense, could you please share with us how would Peru navigate its economic relationship with China and United States? Thank you.
Hace que los países también del mundo puedan entrelazar ideas, historias, inversiones. Nuestros mayores inversionistas, que es China y Estados Unidos, desde Perú como un país milenario, heredero del Imperio Inca, venimos trabajando en el respeto de los tratados de libre comercio que tenemos con ellos. China está entrando a invertir bastante en la minería, en el transporte, en la agricultura y Estados Unidos también. Y nosotros somos respetuosos de esos tratados que ya los tenemos con ellos. En consecuencia, la competencia, que además es una competencia natural, que seguramente todos los países del mundo las tienen, y en este caso la competencia entre China y Estados Unidos, también nos favorecen a nosotros porque nos exigimos también como país para que podamos no solamente ser país que siga exportando materia prima, sino también queremos ser un país que tenga industria, que tenga tecnología y podamos caminar a ese mundo que todos los países añoran, a un país sin contaminación. En consecuencia, el trato con Estados Unidos y con China es un trato de países hermanos que invierten en el Perú y nosotros también exportamos nuestros productos hacia estos países. Así es que no solamente China y Estados Unidos pueden tener la garantía de invertir en el Perú, sino los países que son miembros de la APEC, pero también del mundo. En el Perú los esperamos con el cariño y con los brazos abiertos. Muchas gracias.
Thank you. I think our discussion is getting more interesting anyway. I have to finish it and wrap up now. Thanks for everyone's contribution. Please join me in giving our speakers a big round.